Here's Dodge. Ooh, yeah. There's Dodge. So this is the... Oh, yep. This is the Challenger RT with the racing modification on that. That's a 1970. So that one, I believe the one I had, I made it like the orange and stuff. That way it could give it this old school look, what they should look like if you ask me. And I believe I took this Challenger and I think I did a lot to that one too. I tweaked it quite a bit. Obviously not as much as my Camaro, but so this is pretty nice. 449 horsepower with 489 foot-pounds of torque. Let's see what the regular one's at 412. So it's a decent upgrade. Oh, there it is. Hammy orange. Is that a hammy? I'm not wild about Mopars in the way, but I don't have any hatred towards them. But I knew like the only reason this Challenger at one point started getting some traction as in popularity was because how Dodge was bringing out the brand new Challenger. I mean, when that new one came out, I mean, this is at 400. What? Wait a minute. Is that the same horsepower? Did they do that? So this was a torch red on the 2008 SRT8. See, now that's interesting. So, well, hold on a sec. So that's 412, and the old one's at 412. Obviously, this weighs a little bit more. So what was the torque again? The torque on this was 475. While the newer one is at 407. So just power wise, that's pretty interesting. So you're looking at a vehicle that's heavier, and then considering how the transmissions are is a big contributing factor. So like the 70 Charger should be able to get off the line harder than this, but ultimately I believe the 2008 would win just because like technology wise, like that transmission is going to outperform this transmission. The power band on this one next to the power band on that one. I mean, it's so. I mean, even though the horsepower is the same, there's so many factors and shit. And that's considering, let's say, you put the same tires, like not having shitty tires on the 70 and shit. Oh, I gotta give credit where credit due. This fucking Dodge Viper SRT10 ACR Viper was and is still a pretty impressive piece of machinery. That sucker went out on a track and ripped it. Yeah, I can't say anything negative about the way the ACR went. I mean, it did really good. Like this particular one's at a 588 horsepower, 544 foot-pounds of torque. Let's see, it's at 1,552 kilograms. I believe that's pretty good for that type of vehicle. That type of power, that power to weight ratio is insane. And then that big ass wing to make sure that downforce for those fucking rear wheels. And this one here, Viper Red. That's not bad, Viper Red. I believe I had seen one of these with a purple that came out really nice. So you had that same black in the middle, but the purple was just... That particular purple was popping so nice. Here's a regular 2006 Viper SRT10 Coupe. And the regular one's sitting at 493 horsepower with 515 foot-pounds of torque. Not bad, not bad. These are still a pretty pricey fucking vehicle too, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie. If it was up to me, I'd be that full American guy that... I'd have my Corvette. I'd have the Viper, Ford GT. That's the lineup. I would say it would be the Corvette, Dodge Viper, and then the Ford GT. So that'd be the lineup for the top. For me, what I would consider the top echelon of those particular vehicles for those particular companies. And then the 2002 Viper GTS. Now, this color scheme, obviously, not that bad. I would prefer the other way around, because even though, like, I'm a black and gold, black and yellow kind of guy, but I wouldn't have the yellow as the predominant color and then have black as subsequent. I would have vehicle black and then yellow stripes. That's me. Like, hopefully that's one of the things I would like to do to my Corvette, is right now it's all black, and I would like to give it a few things here and there that are a good appropriate yellow, because I don't like just any old yellow. Like, for example, this particular yellow I'm not too fond of. Something about this particular yellow just doesn't sit with me well. But, meh, it's alright. So, let's see. Oh, here goes the standard Dodge. Standard Dodge. The very first thing is a pickup truck. Now, this is where I giggle again. We had the other pickup truck from Chevy. We got the Chevy SS. And then we got the big old truck, the Silverado SS. It's like we're in a racing game and we got some trucks, you know. To think about that is kind of silly. Like the only way, like for example, with this big truck, which I don't know why they went with a 4-door. That's another thing that's kind of interesting. Why the fuck would you go with a 4-door and have it even bigger and even heavier? Like technically what you could do with this vehicle in this game is that since you can go off-road and do rally, like maybe you would do rally with a pickup truck. So that is an option. That is a thing. But when you're at 5,784 millimeters long, at 2,390 kilograms in weight, okay, yeah, that's a big one. With only a 5.7 liter V8, it's got 330 horsepower with 362 foot-pounds of torque. So we're not even talking about a lot of power to move this big belly. So it's insane. But at least it's black with chrome, so it's good. Here we go, here we go, here we go. The 1999 Viper GTS. This is still technically the body style I like. Like, I saw the earlier ones, and then, like, the last one, the ACR and shit like that. Like, they look cool. I'm not gonna lie, they look cool. But something about this original GTS styling, the way that body line is, the way it goes into that ass over there, and it's got that, the way the tail, I mean, it's just something about it. That's my favorite body style. It really is. And that one at that time was such an animalistic vehicle. Like, you didn't have all those safety features and shit. Like, I got screwed. I had an opportunity to drive one. Or at least park it. You know, at least get in one. Because I haven't gotten in one yet, unfortunately. I've gotten into a lot of cars. I've gotten into some Ferraris and some Porsches and shit. Particular Lambo. I think the Lambo I was in was a Murcielago. But I never got a chance to get in a Dodge Viper. And I had a time where I had the opportunity that unbeknownst to me, it would have been an opportunity. So I was working at an Italian restaurant doing valet parking cars. And there was a particular night that I was going to work, but then it got taken away from me and given it to another person. And I was upset that they gave that to the other person. I mean, one of the excuses I heard was, oh, but he's in debt or something like that. I was like, yeah, if you're in debt, that means you're a person that had a chance and you screwed it up. I'm just a person that has nothing and I'm just trying to live. Like, I'm like, right now, I'm just trying to pay my insurance on this car and the gas and the rent that I need to do. I'm just trying to fucking survive. And yet you're taking away my job. That's fucked up. That's pretty fucked up. So, the part that made it a little fucking worse was then later I find out that a particular friend has his wife's birthday. It was that same night. That same day. So that same night, where do they decide to go and eat? The same goddamn restaurant. I was pissed. I'm like, really? Y'all want me to go to this fucking shit and it's at the same place? Are you fucking serious? I could have just been working that night. So sure enough, I'm fucking upset. I am so fucking upset. I'm like, I'm out of cash for that night. I mean, I could have made at least a decent buck, you know? And then, so at one point in time, I'm talking to one of the guys at the bar that I know. And I don't know if my buddy Tony was there, because I got a friend who was working there that he also did local acting in the state of Florida. So any movie that was going to be filmed in the state of Florida, chances are he's in it. Like, Bad Boys 2, he was in it. All About the Benjamins. He was even in a show called Oz. So if you ever want to hit up my buddy Anthony Corona. Coroni, right? It was Corona? I'm sorry if I'm fucking up that name. It's been a while since I said it, to be honest with you. Anthony Coroni. So, legitimate Antoni, as the Antoni. Coroni. But you'll see it, like, if anybody pulls up those particular things I said, like the show Oz. He even, I like that part he had in, he was in Ace Ventura. He was in, I remember that movie called Gone Fishing. That was an entertaining film. It was Danny Glover and Joe Pesci. And my buddy Tony was in that too. So shout out to Tony. Hope he's doing pretty good. I wonder what other projects he's in that I can't wait to see him in. Because I'm off the wagon of movies and shows and stuff like that. So I don't know what he's done. And I've lost contact with him. So, which sucks. Because he's a really cool dude. And so if anybody that knows what I'm talking about, knows him, or hey, if maybe Tony's watching this right now, I hope he's doing good. I hope he's got some good projects going on. It would definitely be cool to see him again. But also that, like I said, for that night, after talking to the bartender, I decided to go to the door. So right when you're looking at the bar, to the left, there's a door to go out. That door leads to the spot where I would sit when we had a little stand with the keys for the cars and stuff like that out there. I go proceed to walk out that way. I open the door, and what's just about to fucking pull away is one of these in red. A Dodge Viper in fucking red. And I'm like, so I'm fucking pissed even more, okay? It's like, I'm not saying I'm a Dodge fan, okay? I'm just, in a way, an automotive kind of guy. You know, I give respect where respect is due for all these automobiles, even though I'm a Chevy guy. So it's like, I'm pissed. So not only did I get fucked out of making money that night, and then I get fucked to fucking still go to the same damn place, and then I get fucked by seeing that I could have fucking drove that fucking car, or at least parked it. You know, it's not, I'm not driving it, but at least I would have gotten the experience to get in one, feel it, hear it, park it, smell it. I mean, I got fucked out of that opportunity. And still to this day, I'm fucking pissed for that shit. That decision to take away that day of work from me, I can't let it go. Like, that's how profound that opportunity would have been for me, I guess. You know, because it was one of those moments where I needed cash. I was busting ass to try to make ends meet and trying hard to get the experience while I was parking cars. I mean, I drove some badass Mercedes and shit like that. There was a Bentley's. You know, it was a dream. It was literally a dream I had going that I didn't expect I was gonna get. I mean, it was one of those things like, wow. You know, holy shit, really? I get to fucking deal with these cars, man. Cool, you know. I even checked out cars and never, like, there was this one called the Quicksilver, and the company was called Zimmer. That fucking car was rad. I liked it. It's an interesting look, of course, you know. But I got to fucking check it out. I got to sit in it and shit. I remember when the very first 350Z came around. Like, the person had it in the beautiful color that they came in. It was like a sunburst fucking thing going on. It was an interesting color. It looked nice. I mean, I even met a guy that had a Z06, and below it of the emblem on the side, it said 605 or 650, like it had a number with a little question mark, like do I have that horsepower? Do I? Oh man, that was a badass Corvette. He had the shifter where just a flick of the wrist, you were able to get into gear. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. With the flick of the wrist. It's like you're not. It has such a small travel between getting in and out of gears. I was like, wow, I was so impressed. So yeah, man, that was a wonderful time. And that day, yeah, I was very sad. I was very sad. But here we go, 1971, Charger Super Bee. So it's a Charger, but it's the Super Bee one with a 426 Hemi in it. So this 426 has 412 horsepower and 465 foot-pounds of torque. That's not bad, obviously. It's not bad. Such a big car. See, now this one in particular, I'm not wild about this one, but when it comes to this, on the other hand, this right here, Dominic Toretto from the Fast franchise. So it's amazing how, like, in general, this car, you know, it had its status solidified in many different ways. There was, you know, because obviously you got a huge following from Mopars in general, period. But you had so many other things that had this vehicle, you know. Dukes of Hazzard was one of them, you know. But when the first Fast and the Furious came out, that's when people that didn't really know they liked muscle cars ended up falling in love with it. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously this one doesn't have the supercharger sticking out of the hood, but this 1970s Charger, it's just a shit. And it became the staple for Dominic Toretto, the character in the movies. Like, it's either he's going to have a Dodge Charger or he would have, like, another Dodge. Like, because that's another thing, too. If I'm not mistaken, that was a thing between Universal making the movie and Dodge. Like, I think it definitely was a thing. Like, hey, can we use these vehicles and we're also promoting them at the same time, kind of thing. Because some of the subsequent films had, like, the newer Charger in it and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. And then you get to see all the other different types of Chargers. Like, I finally got to see Fast 9, and they had one of these with the engine in the back. It was a mid-engine rear-wheel drive style fucking Dodge Charger. And I mean, that was pretty fucking cool. I could say it wasn't cool. You know, it's fucking cool. Like, this sitting here apparently had the 440 sitting at 363 horsepower with 465 foot-pounds of torque. Which, that on its own, with a damn good tires, this vehicle moved pretty well. I mean, it was a nice vehicle. I know the only thing that, through communicating with other Mopar individuals, the only downside for Dodge was these things rusted too easily. There was areas that weren't treated in any way, so the moisture can get at the metal and the metal just started going away. So body-wise, you had to be ready to deal with somewhere there's going to be some rust, unless you really had it in an area where it wouldn't. You know, it's one of those things. It was, some of them would explain their frustration, but ultimately their love overcomes their frustration, so they still wanted to do it. But yeah, this is definitely a car that I always thought it was a really cool car, but you know, I didn't think of it any more of itself because of those movies, because I already knew how many people love this car to begin with. It's just that movie and the other subsequent movies after just put it in another bracket, in another area for people to see it and then enjoy it and then possibly fall in love with it. So there was that too. What we got here, the 2003 SRT10 Viper. This is when that new body came out. I thought it was alright. I thought this body was alright. I never cared for convertible. Like when it came to the regular T from before, uh, like the first Viper, I didn't care for that body because the ass was too round for me. The way the convertible shit was, I didn't care for any of that. That's why I like the GTS when it came out as a coupe. That's an actual coupe. That one I like. This one, because of the convertible shit, I'm not wild about it. But it was definitely a nice look. It's not a bad look. Oh God, talking about the neon. There it is. The neon. This is the one I call the neon. This is the one I had to give props to. Okay. The SRT4. This 4-cylinder, for some reason, I don't know how they did this. I never did look into it. But this motor was able to support some fucking boost. There was people out there that had these things screaming. It was impressive. It was very impressive. It gave me that remembrance of how, like, they had that one Mitsubishi Eclipse that had that one particular 4-cylinder that you could put gobs of horsepower in that thing. You could make all kinds of horsepower on that thing. And this reminded me of that. So it was like, if you had this neon as all-wheel drive, I'm sure it'd be a fucking insane little rocket. But yeah, this one I had to give credit where credit was due. This particular neon, the SRT4, I mean, it was a very impressive vehicle. I mean, this as it is in this game though, which is funny. I'm looking at the wheels. The wheels are similar to the Viper wheels, so that's kind of funny. So this is sitting at 221 horsepower with 243 foot-pounds of torque. That right there is a very nice amount of horsepower for a 4-cylinder in general, just to be like a basic car. But these little things were just fast. They were fast. Now this is when they brought out the concept of what the GTS R would look like. Okay. From like the middle to the front, I'm okay with. Like I was okay. I was like, oh, I see what you got going here. I see what you got going here. Once you get past that window on the side, that ass, I can't. I just can't. Okay, I just can't with that ass. Something about that seems like it's too much with this ass back here. Like I didn't care for that at all. That's the only thing I have against it. I just can't. And this as a concept vehicle, I guess it's supposed to be like what the race car version of this vehicle could be or some shit like that. I mean, it's 483 horsepower or 484 foot-pounds of torque, so it's not crazy horsepower. But yeah, that's... I just couldn't. I couldn't. Now this, on the other hand, wow. Also the history on these guys right here. Going against the Corvette. I believe they were in the same bracket. The GT3, no. I think it was just called GT class or something. I forgot how they classify these. This one here's got the PlayStation logo name on it. It's got Gran Turismo all over it. So the GTSR Team Orsic. Or Rika, or Risa. How would you say it? Anyways, so this is the number 51 for 2000. So that's the thing. This is one of those that actually puts the number up there. It's kind of cool. Like they got that one, and then there's the number 91. So you had two vehicles, same shit. Let me actually, was it exactly the same? 570 horsepower, 503 torque. It's the same thing, right? 570, 53. Okay. So it's the same car, just a different number and shit. That's pretty cool. So that's Dodge. But then technically this is technically a Dodge. But then also technically a Mitsubishi. Obviously more Mitsubishi than Dodge. Because at the time, Dodge and Mitsubishi had a thing together. So this company, Eagle, was one example of that. The other example was a car that's not in here. through Dodge, as we just went through Dodge, we didn't see it. Um, but there was a thing called the Dodge Stealth. Anybody that knows the Dodge Stealth knows that technically that is a Mitsubishi 3000 GT. Obviously, the difference between the two is the one as Dodge Stealth for America only offered as a front wheel drive in one basic way, unlike Mitsubishi where they had a few different variations of the 3000 GT, especially the one I liked with the twin turbo V6 four-wheel drive. Like that was the best one. Like that one model was the best one. We'll get to that later. But this is technically a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Now, the one thing they did with this is like what they did with the Dodge Stealth is make a special spoiler that was distinguished. So like this spoiler technically starts from the bottom right area of the windshield and then wraps over to the other side. And then you only got one little pillar in the middle. So the Dodge Stealth technically had that too. So that was the way you could tell that that wasn't the Mitsubishi one. That was one of the ways. Because that came factory. Last time I remember, that was a thing that came with it. Like this one. Now, the funny thing is, I've seen the Dodge Stealth. I've seen it in person. I've also seen it on a show that I wasn't aware of. Because I had bought a big pack of Smokey and the Bandit, which came with the 3 original films that came out, but then there was like other films, but they were like TV movies that I wasn't aware of. I didn't know they existed, and they were using a Dodge Stealth for that. So instead of a Pontiac Trans Am, they were using a Dodge Stealth. So that's another place that I remember the Dodge Stealth. But this right here is the Eagle Talon. I've never encountered one of these. I have yet to come across this vehicle. So that's why in some cases I'm like, did they even sell this thing really at all? I mean, fuck. And sitting here at 134 horsepower with 129 foot-pounds of torque. This is not... I would rather have that little Dodge Neon SRT4 than this any day. But when it comes to the legit Eclipse, those came out better, of course. Let me go into Chrysler. Let's go into Chrysler. What we got here is the Chrysler 300C from 1990 or 2005. I'm sorry. I remember when this thing first came out, there were so many people that kind of wanted it. That, you know, especially individuals that wanted to put big old fat rims and shit. What? So this was a 5.7 liter V8 in this one, pumping out at 329 horsepower with 378 foot-pounds of torque. I think the only thing I can say bad about that, realistically, this car had some bad electrical problems. So it's like if you were a person that was capable of dealing with electrical things, this car would be okay to have. Other than that, this car was not okay to have. It was a pain in the ass. Here we go. This is normally Plymouth, but it did become a Chrysler product later in the Chrysler name. But this used to be a Plymouth Prowler. Then when they got rid of Plymouth, it became the Chrysler Prowler. I know one of my videos where I was riding around to go to work, we came across one. I was talking about it. And sure enough, it was one of those things where before the car was going to come out, people were a little hyped. I knew a few people that were going to be very interested. But once the car was officially going to come out and stuff like that, and they found out what it had, like it's a 3.5 liter V6. People were upset. They're like, there was so many individuals that were like, dude, that thing is supposed to be a V8. It's supposed to. I'm like, I understand, but at the same time, it's not like it's the weakest thing on the planet. I mean, it's at 242 horsepower with 247 foot-pounds of torque. So it's a decent V6. I never did get to look under the hood of one of these to see how the spacing is in there. Like, to see if you can, I mean, I know for a fact you probably could slap a supercharger on that bad boy. But when it comes to, like, maybe turbos, you don't have the adequate space, so you would have to modify to do that. But then most people that had it just to keep it as is anyways. So there's that. Um, right. So, shit. I mean, honestly, I don't dislike it. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, though. This is one of those cars where you can see the independent suspension in the front working and everything and see the wheels turning. So that's pretty cool to see that. But yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, the only time I believe there's a Prowler out there with a Viper engine in it. Somebody could probably find that, look it up. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But that would be interesting to think about that engine in there. But the way this thing is, too, if somebody was out there, they probably had the capabilities of getting their hands on the Hellcat motor. I'm sure the Hellcat motor would fit in a lot easier than a Viper engine. So you could put the Hellcat motor in one of these and then really tear up the streets. So there's that. So if you want to make a real modern a hot rod, there you go. I mean, you do that. Okay. Let's see what else. Oh my God. The plastic edition. Like my buddy Roy would call it. Hey, the PT plastic edition. So the PT Cruiser. What a fucking car, dude. It's amazing how many of this vehicle here. Okay. There was a fuck ton of people that bought this car. There was so many people that bought this fucking car. I swear to God. So many styles, so many different modifications, you know. Like there was ones with the wooden look on the sides. People would change the headlights. People would change the taillights. There was so many people that just fell in love with this car. Like I was not one of them, of course. But hey, that's where it is. To each his own. I mean, the horsepower is at 144. Torque at 162. If I'm not mistaken, the four-cylinder in this was the same engine in the Dodge Neon. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the same chassis. So the Dodge Neon and the PT Cruiser shared the chassis together, I think. So that's another thing. Now, here's a car that I kind of liked. One, the name was kind of cool. The Crossfire. One of the reasons I like the Crossfire for some fucking reason, it was because my 1983 Camaro that I had, that I was talking about earlier in another time, it had the Crossfire fuel injection engine intake on it. So the Crossfire was on that, and then here's a vehicle called the Crossfire. Plus, I do dig the stylings of this car. I'm not gonna lie, I do dig the stylings. Now, the one thing that I do know too between when it comes to Chryslers, Daimler Chrysler was a combo of Chrysler and Mercedes. Daimler Chrysler, so Daimler Mercedes. So the drivetrain within this vehicle is actually shared with the little small Mercedes that was out at that time. So you were buying a Chrysler product, but your engine and transmission was definitely Mercedes. Okay. Now the interior, I believe the interior was a little different as well. I think it might have shared a few things, but ultimately between the two vehicles, this one and that one Mercedes, I think it was called the SLK, the little SLK, I think is what it was called. Obviously, this was cheaper, obviously, and also in quality. So price and quality, unfortunately. This one having a six-cylinder, that six-cylinder was a 208 horsepower with 221 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, I believe they brought out a more performance model, if I'm not mistaken, a little later. That one performed a little bit better because I know they were talking shit about like the handling and whatnot. This one was just shit. But then the following one with more horsepower and then the handling and stuff, like they treated it with a little more respect. Let's say it that way. Like that's another thing. Like some of these companies bring out vehicles where I think it's just they have no respect. All right, here we go with Plymouth. So that's interesting. So they had the Chrysler Prowler, but they didn't put the Plymouth Prowler. That's funny. But in this, here's your Plymouth Superbird. This was the go-to car for NASCAR back in the day, man. They love this thing. Look at that wing, dude. It's insane. It's insane. So, big boy motor at 412 horsepower at 475 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, that's a big boy right there. Let's see. Here we go. So this is your more, technically, your more popular vehicle between this and a Challenger. The Cuda had way more of an appeal. There's way more of a want, and there was way more of a demand. Like these Cudas, like real matching number Cudas, not Barracuda. Because there was a Barracuda and then there was a Cuda. There was actually a difference. And if you had matching numbers, Cudas, these fuckers would fetch a high price in an auction if it was all matching numbers. Like if it was 100% fucking original, real deal Cuda. Big price tag. I mean, dude. And this one's cool. I like this one in violet metallic. So that purple is pretty nice. So yeah, the 440 6-pack. That's pretty cool. So that displacement is at 7,210 cc's. That is amazing how big that fucking thing. So you got max horsepower is 371, while torque is at 465. That's why certain fucking Mopars just fucking did good back in the day too, man. They pumped out some torque. They really did.